Milk. It does a body good. And no one knows that better than the hero of time himself, Link. Our hero is blessed to be able to enjoy the nutritious milk of Lon Lon Ranch at any point in his travels, which is actually remarkable considering all this milk can do. Let's get into the nitty-gritty in the second edition of Overthinking It. Picture this. You're traveling on horseback, basking in the sun, with nothing but Hyrule fields in your view. The sense of adventure, the sense of purpose. But suddenly you're struck down. A random monster attacks you and you're down to your last heart and bleeding out on the ground. What do you do? Reach for the bandages? Not carrying any. Green herbs? Oh, that's a different game. A fairy? That would help, but I'd like to save those to stop us from dying. Your next best option, a tall glass of Lon Lon Milk, able to recover 5 hearts per serving. One bottle consists of 2 servings. Now, fairies I can understand, they're magic. But as far as we've known, this is just milk from a cow. How does this heal us? Well, to answer these questions, I think first we need to look at the size of the bottle and see just how much a serving is. To get an idea, I wanted to start by getting Link's height, which is easier than I expected. Much easier than Banjo's for sure. There's this handy scale in this laboratory. If we assume since the game is Japanese, things are measured in centimeters and meters, young Link is around 1.27 meters and adult Link 1.5 meters, putting Link around 4'9". People argue on the internet about how there's no way, but honestly, Hylians look suspiciously like elves, and generally elves are depicted as smaller, so I wouldn't argue this too much from that perspective. Fun fact, the reason it said Hylians have pointed ears is so they can hear messages from the gods. Now that is creepy. Anyways, let's assume the height of Link is correct. Then using this scale, well, heck, let's use the scale for this bottle too. And that gives us roughly 5 inches. It isn't an exact science, but you catch my drift. And now that we have that size, a container of that size could hold this much. So now just cut that in half and the serving size is... Kulimpa! Now that we have this, we see that it takes this much Lon Lon Milk to heal any injury up to 5 hearts. That's some pretty potent stuff. And I should add, it won't make a difference between adult or young Link, even though they are different sizes. It's probably safe to assume this in different species and creatures as well. So besides Hylians, it would probably work on a Goron the same way. A giant one? I'm not sure how that works, but we have to assume unless proven otherwise. Now, I'm not an expert on milk, and although it does have a wide array of health benefits, I don't think it's going to be your go-to if you get injured. So what makes this milk so potent and special? We'll have to look at the cows producing it, which, believe it or not, aren't only located in Lon Lon Ranch. They can be found all around Hyrule, and like in special holes and caverns, these cows produce the same nutritious milk. The weird thing about some of those cows, though, they can talk. What in the Eddie Murphy's Dr. Dolittle is going on here? The trick to get them to talk is playing Epona's song. Ah, of course. More magic. Yep, I hate to be Captain Obvious, but this is another magic is the answer video. Playing the song and getting them to talk isn't too different from the mask of truth we can acquire to hear the gossip stones. Enhancing things with magic tends to make them talk. But the question now being, how did these cows get magic? Now, it's pretty obvious that magic flows through the realm of Hyrule, as it's not uncommon to wield magic. So here's how I believe the cows got magical. Now, hear me out. Look at what the milk can do. Heal injuries. Exactly what a fairy can do. It's not as powerful to heal with the milk versus a fairy, but it's hard not to notice the similarities. So this healing magic is very similar. So similar, I'd say it's the same. Now notice how every fairy heals the same way. The great fairies are the only ones demonstrating different magical abilities. In general, fairies just heal. So now you're asking, how do the cows get the abilities of the fairies? And that's an easy one. Fairies are plentiful around Hyrule. I mean, look at us. We have one flying around us, and we're running all over the place. And take a look. When we're healed by a fairy, it doesn't actually touch us, indicating that it heals by dropping magic pieces, or okay, fine, I'll say it, fairy dust on us. It's not surprising that fairies would be dropping their dust all over the fields of Hyrule where the cows graze. The fairies drop the dust, the cows ingest the dust, and the cows convert that fairy-dusted grass into fairy magic milk that can heal any injury up to 5 hearts. And it also apparently makes them talk. I'd also like to point out it doesn't seem like this milk spoils, as it's never kept cool or anything. Link just pops it in a glass bottle and carries it until he needs it. What a useful thing for deliveries. Unless Link is, of course, drinking curdled milk, which I wouldn't put it past him. The guy's pretty much bound to do anything because somebody told him to. Lon Lon Ranch can sell this milk across the Nintendoverse to make a crap ton of rupees. Magic milk? Yes, please. Probably very helpful for certain characters flying in space to have a magic, highly nutritious drink that doesn't spoil, which is why I believe we can find Arwings flying in Hyrule. It's highly coveted in the galaxy. And that is the story of why this milk really does a body good. Or am I overthinking it? Well, that's all I have for you. I hope you enjoyed this episode, and I hope you'll drop a like to help me get my content pushed out more to the internet. And consider subscribing and hitting that bell so you'll catch my future uploads. Until next time, have a good one!